Please listen carefully.
Hello, Team Anaesthesia. Welcome to GasGasGas. This is the best anaesthetic science podcast for the FRCA primary exam. Our goal is to fill your brain with all this highly useful information. Now, you might be in the gym right now, commuting, or ironing your scrubs, and there's no judgment here. GasGasGas will prime your brain for the monsoon of knowledge you need to imbibe. But regardless, the revision is eventually going to end. But for now, expect facts, concepts, model answers, and the odd tangent. Now remember to check out the website, that's gasgasgas.uk. There are show notes there with all the detail, plus links to foundational reference papers and anything else useful I find for you guys. Anyway, buckle up, get ready for your mind to be bent into a new shape, and let's get on with the show. Good morning, everyone. Today, more VivaCast action, this time with Shyam. Shyam lives in Leeds. He's part of the MBBS with Distinction Club, Woo, and he is studying for his primary FRCA exam, the Lucky Sausage. How did he get himself on this here podcast? Well, he emailed me, and then he very kindly filled out a application form and signed a disclaimer. So Shyam, he's going to be famous now, at least for the next 3 episodes. As I understand it, Count Binface actually listens to this podcast as well, for his educational enjoyment, I do believe. He's not quite so busy trying to beat Nigel Farage in Clacton. He's still got time for this. Before I waffle too much into the middle distance, I think we're all just going to get on with it. And Shyam asks me what I've been up to today. I have been pretty good. I'm living my best life.
So whereabouts are you working?
I work in South Yorkshire, in the Yorkshire Humberdeanery.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow, okay. No worries. Oh, wow, fine. Okay, so it's close to home. I'm in Pinderfields.
Pinders, yeah. I recently went to Pinders for that regional teaching on burns and a very long conversation about dermatology.
Okay. I thought you were in. So for some reason, I thought you were in like West England, Northwest. I don't know why.
Cool. So you're at Pinderfields at the moment. How far are you into your training? Are you?
So I am ACCS CT2. So I did my novice in August, and now I'm ICU.
Nice, and you're absolutely nailing forward on the exam by the sounds of it. Then.
Yeah, I'm trying. I've got a lot of life happening, so it's not now or never, but it's now or very inconvenient.
Weddings, babies.
Yes, weddings. Friends and my own. So yes.
Ah, congratulations, nice one.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. So it's
it's hard to not feel the pressure, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. It is hard, but it's fine. It's just trying to crack on. I mean, the date is nice, so either way, like whatever the result, at least there's 3 weeks of just taking it easy and stuff.
Absolutely, because you do need a bit of time to decompress after all that madness, because it's quite a lot, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I have prepared either 2 to 3 stations per pharmacology, physiology, physics and equipment, and clinical.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm conscious. I have a night shift tonight, so I can't do hours and hours of Viva action.
No, I completely appreciate that. I mean, whatever is useful for you as well. I mean, I know you've obviously getting content for your show as well. So I'm happy with any of those 4. If you wanted me to specifically talk about stuff to cover, I'm absolutely happy, or any game. Yeah.
Yeah, and vice versa. Like, I want to make sure that it's useful for you because, like, you've got an exam next week, so.
So, I mean, it's a bit awkward because there was a VYVA course this morning. So, like, you do half of the station. So I did clinical this morning and physiology. So it's not like it's quite hard. But I mean, yeah, I don't mind doing either. Yeah,
so we're going to do all 4.
Oh, you do? Oh, okay.
Yeah. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay, ready?
Yeah.
Nice one. So, welcome, Shyam, to your pharmacology Viva. 5 minutes, and I'll cut you off at the closure of 5 minutes. Okay, we'll move on. So, Shyam, could you define volume of distribution for me, please?
Sure. So, a volume of distribution is an apparent volume in which a dose of a drug distributes itself to exert a specific plasma concentration. In terms of an equation, it's defined as volume of distribution equals dose divided by concentration, and it's a theoretical volume which states how well a drug distributes. It gives us an idea of how well it distributes to the body.
Excellent. So what factors can determine or influence the volume of distribution?
So you have the size of the molecule, the lipid solubility of the molecule, the protein binding of the molecule, the pKa of the molecule as well, and also the local metabolism that it undergoes, that also affects it. So I can talk about any of these more if you'd like.
You mentioned local metabolism. That sounds interesting. What do you mean by that?
So local metabolism, so for example, drugs, for example, catecholamines, especially if they're ingested orally, they can be broken down by the gastric mucosa. So in that route, that they won't be able to distribute from the gut, etc. But I suppose it's more for bioavailability, but that can be a factor that affects volume distribution.
It absolutely influences the amount of drug getting to the site you're trying to measure. Sure thing. So moving on to some other pharmacological definitions, could you define clearance for me, please?
Sure. So clearance is essentially the amount of volume that is being that is having drug removed from it per unit time. And again, it's defined by the volume of distribution times the elimination rate constant, if we were to define it mathematically.
Excellent. So what influences exist for clearance? What factors influence it?
So clearance is ultimately mainly dependent on, again, the blood flow to the liver, how the liver's capacities to deal with the drug. And then ultimately, if we were thinking about excretion from the body as well, you'd also think about the kidney's role in clearing that as well. And obviously, there are other extra sites of metabolism, so the lungs can do some metabolism as well, but it's mainly those two factors. And then anything that makes the volume of distribution bigger will make the clearance larger, so those factors are also in play as well.
Excellent. And last but not least, half-life?
Okay, so half-life is the time taken for a plasma concentration to reduce by 50%. And again, it's dependent. So in single-order kinetics, it's with the exponential decay curve. There are some specified equations that I can go through that, or do you want me to explain that in further?
Yeah, could you just elaborate on those equations for me?
Yeah. So the equation which governs sort of single-order kinetics, where the concentration at any time is equal to your concentration at time 0 times e to the minus kt, and then your half-life is essentially t half is the natural log of 2 divided by k, which is what governs that, and the natural log is just governs natural systems, and it's a way for you to calculate the half-life.
Absolutely, yeah. So now if we take what we've spoken about so far and try and lay that on a multi-compartmental model, how does K, for example, come into play in its greater complexity in a multi-compartmental model?
So in terms of the multi-compartmental model, you've got the bi and tri-compartmental model. So essentially, you've got a single vascular compartment where you can infuse drugs into and they eliminate from, and then it redistributes into, if you're thinking about the two-compartment model, all the other go into the body, and in the three-compartment, you have your well-perfused and poorly perfused. So I'll just talk about the three-compartment now. So essentially, you essentially have a tri-exponential decay, which is what you have, because you're trying to represent the initial redistribution and terminal elimination that you get. So you get a specific K or rate elimination for each of those three phases.
Excellent, lovely. And in what situations, in anaesthesia, might we use a multi-compartmental model?
So in total intravenous anaesthetic is the main way we would use it. So, for example, most models usually use the three compartments I've said, plus an effect site as well, which predicts the concentration that's present in the brain. And again, using that...
And that is 5 minutes. Thank you very much. Nice one, Shyam. Anyhow, time for a brief mention about the sponsors of GasGasGas, Teach Me Anaesthetics. These guys are behind an excellent single best answer question resource. Firstly, I took the joyful, challenging, and intermittent bashing through their 1100 plus questions, which they have written for the FRCA primary exam. Now, I secretly loved it, and there are plenty of questions to test your knowledge. When I was studying for the FRCA primary, it did not exist, but there were other packages online. These cost a lot more, and they didn't really seem to reflect the content of the exams. Whilst doing them, I came across rehashed MRCP questions, which was not terribly inspiring and left me pretty cheesed off, whereas these single best answer questions have been built from the ground up. They have not sniffed an MCQ in a past life. They are based on the anaesthetic science you need to know, and there are explainers with all the questions, so it builds your knowledge as you work through them. There is a multitude of ways you can study these questions. You could choose to do a random battle with 1100 plus questions, or split them into subject area. You can go back and redo the ones you've gotten wrong. It's very malleable. So if you've been thinking about which question resource you might want to get your hands on for the exam, you shouldn't really look any further than Teach Me Anaesthetics. If you reckon it's for you, all the links to Teach Me Anaesthetics from GasGasGas are affiliate links. So if you're signing up through one of those, you're helping to support GasGasGas. So if you think you're going to go for it, click a link with me. You know you want to. You'll not only be supporting your exam preparation, but you'll be supporting your 100% favourite Tell Your Nan Over Sunday Lunch podcast, which is, of course, Gas, Gas, Gas. We're going to move on. So, could you please compare and contrast alfentanil, fentanyl, and morphine for me, please?
Oh, sure. So, morphine, alfentanil, and fentanyl. So these are all drugs that act on opiate receptors. In terms of the first main difference is morphine is naturally present and can be extracted from the opium poppy, whereas alfentanil and fentanyl are synthesized from their phenylpiperidine derivatives. Secondly, so morphine is sort of the base drug that we compare all our opiates to. So the relative lipid solubilities, etc., is basically, so morphine has one, whereas alfentanil, I believe, is about 90 times more lipid soluble than morphine, and then fentanyl is a lot more lipid soluble, up to 300 times more lipid soluble than morphine. In terms of the potency, so alfentanil and fentanyl are more potent than morphine. So they are presented in slightly different manners, where morphine you'll get usually a milligram per mil, whereas fentanyl comes in sort of the micrograms, and alfentanil compared to fentanyl is, if I remember correctly, less potent than fentanyl. So it comes in 1 milligram of what you use for administration. Now, think about the pharmacokinetics of these drugs. So morphine can be administered in multiple different routes: orally, subcut, IV, intrathecally, as can fentanyl as well, because of its lipid solubility. They can be so they all have similar ways in which they're administered. Morphine's bioavailability is poor because of its first-pass metabolism, as are the others as well. I can't recall factually what they are. In terms of where they differ, though, is their volumes of distribution. So fentanyl's volume of distribution is quite large because of how lipid soluble it is compared to morphine and alfentanil, and their metabolism is different. So morphine is metabolized by the liver and is converted into active compounds such as morphine 6-glucuronide, and fentanyl is converted into norfentanyl, which is inactive, and as is alfentanil as well. And their clearance is, and their excretion, morphine and its metabolites are all excreted. These are all excreted by the kidneys, but because of the fact that alfentanil and fentanyl don't produce any active metabolites, they don't get accumulated renal failure. Now, comparing fentanyl and alfentanil is important because while alfentanil is less potent, so more drug is given. So this, via Bowman's principle, would mean that you've got a larger concentration gradient. So that in part explains why it's faster onset. But fentanyl's pK is 8.1 and alfentanil's is 6.5. So there is more unionized alfentanil, which again contributes to why it's faster onset and maybe preferred for rapid sequence induction.
Excellent. And what other drugs are you aware of in the opioid class?
So other drugs that I'm aware of, so we have remifentanil, which is something that we use quite a lot. Other drugs as well, so codeine is in the opioid class. So you said opioid class, didn't you? Yes. So tramadol as well, and methadone and buprenorphine.
Okay. And when might buprenorphine be of use to you as an anaesthetist?
So buprenorphine is a partial agonist for the mu-opiate receptors. So therefore, it's not going to exert as a maximal response as morphine might, but it's still got affinity for the receptor. So as an anaesthetist, it might be useful for us if someone is withdrawing from opiates, and it's something to try and offset the withdrawal symptoms by having some effect at these mu and the MOC and delta receptors. But you may not want the full effects that are present when giving a different opioid or drug.
Excellent. And what is the side effect profile of opioids in general?
So the side effect profiles of opiates in general, you can split this into system by system. So the respiratory system, so they increase your set point at which your hypercapnic drive is activated. So you may get a respiratory depression with that mainly. Secondly, opioids are known to cause histamine release. So this may on the airways and the lungs cause bronchoconstriction and can affect that in those aspects of things. In terms of the cardiovascular effects, they can increase vagal tone. So you can have bradycardia and hypotension when administering this from the negative chronotropy and inotropy that's caused. In terms of renal effects, GI effects, you have reduced GI motility via the action of opiate receptors there, and you may have nausea and vomiting.
There's your 5 minutes. You clearly know your pharmacology, Shyam.
Thank you.
Clearly, well done. Yeah, basically, so you nailed the definitions of common pharmacological things, which you just have to know, don't you? Because it's bread and butter stuff, and they expect you to just be able to reel it off, like the gas laws, isn't it?
Yeah.
But you clearly had a grasp of how they interrelate, and then you managed to translate that into a multi-compartmental model without drawing anything to show me. So clearly, you can communicate that very well.
Yeah, so I'm not sure. Do you want me to draw? Because I know from like previous, it's quite hard to. Yeah.
Bloody nightmare. Yeah. And on the day, you can draw. You don't have to draw. It's not like you're obliged to. Sometimes it might be helpful, but sometimes you might actually just spend so long drawing that you can't progress the question. So use it selectively, I think, as opposed to just like diving to paper to feel safe with paper. Some people must draw, so to speak. Then you might start doodling.
I found that, yes.
Yeah. And then in terms of your approach to comparing and contrasting, it's really hard to do, isn't it? Because there's so much to talk about, and you don't want to end up like reeling off 100 numbers, and then the examiner's like, what did they just say? They can say a load of numbers, but do they know what that means? So I think your style of peppering the numbers out, but stepwise making comparisons with the different pharmacological or pharmacokinetic concepts and why it's important, this means it onsets faster, this means it onsets slower, comes across like you really know what you're talking about. The only way you could sharpen it up maybe is to just have hedge yourself a bit. Like if you were writing it down, you'd be like, oh, so volume of distribution, da-da-da, elimination, da-da-da. Just to like, because part of the game is making sure the examiner hears what you're saying.
Yes.
Because if they've been doing it all day and they do it for like a whole week, they're going to start daydreaming, and you have to like make sure they hear what you say.
You're pungent and make sure that you are getting what you're saying across.
Yeah, absolutely. And I suppose, although certainly not what I was thinking when I wrote what other drugs do you know of in the opioid class, you could say, well, we classify these as strong and weak opioids. And
oh, yes, of course, I didn't classify that, yeah.
Then you could style it like that, yeah. Or, classic opioids and ones which have other effects, like methadones and MDA and tramadols, serotonergic as well, yeah. But you still told me other drugs in the opioid class, and then answered a sensible question about buprenorphine. So, banging. Yeah. How did you feel about it?
I think so. In terms of volume of distribution, I think they're core concepts that, to be fair, like it's something to keep going over. So it's good to be able to, because some of it can be quite hard to explain, and I think my brain works by maths, so that's why I try and lean by that.
I thought it might.
The rest is yeah. So I think that's how I like to explain things, because it seems more logical. Hence why, like a dose. But I think it makes it more sensible. Whereas, like for example, you can get quite bogged down. I remember when I first came across it and tried to say it out loud to myself about volume distribution, it was quite difficult to get it in, and then I was like, oh well, it's a dose, it distributes and it exerts a specific concentration, and that made it making more sense in my head anyway.
Distilled down to that core bit. But it's a journey to get there for everything, isn't it? Especially if it's something less familiar. You've got to drag yourself through it a bit, and then you're like, oh yeah, that's how it fits in my mind, because everyone thinks differently, don't they? Mm-hmm. So that is Shyam and his first foray into VivaCast action. I think we can all agree that his pharmacology knowledge is pretty banging, but these are core fundamental things you have to know. It fits in some people's heads better than others. It certainly was a bit of a battle to get it in mine at the start. So don't freak out. Read about it, draw pictures, do something that helps you frame what's actually going on in your mind, and try and align that with the pharmacological reality. There are loads of different books on pharmacology. There's the classic Peck and Hill, but I actually found that really intimidating to start with, and then I didn't open it until 2 weeks before the exam and thought, oh god, I should have read this from the start. But Rang and Dale Pharmacology is really good, and then there's just tons of stuff on the internet. You just got to find what works for you and fits in your brain. You might be a bit of an arty brain as opposed to a mathsy brain. Still going to be a great anaesthetist. Right, that was Shyam. Thanks for listening, Count Binface. Thanks for listening, everybody else.
Ahoy, Team Anaesthesia! You've survived yet another episode of Gas, Gas, Gas. Now, if you found it useful or harrowingly awful, please like and subscribe, drop us a star or 12, and follow with whichever podcast platform you find yourself using. Please leave a comment or ping off an email if you think I need to square something away. Now, there are a bunch of ways to support the costs of GasGasGas, from buying me a coffee, to venturing forth via an affiliate link to the horde of joyful SBA questions from Teach Me Anaesthetics. Those links are on the website and in the show notes. Speaking of website, definitely check out gasgasgas.uk for the show notes, diagrams, details, the references. Now, we all know, guys, that this is a bucket of content to consume, and it is like drinking from a fire hose. So I want to finish by saying, take it day by day, don't overcook yourself, don't freak out, and keep studying.